Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the Thermaltake. This is their Smart BM3 850 watt power supply. I did receive the sample, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this product or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Here's a look at the retail box and packaging. Everything looks great. They walk you through the key tech specs and features right on the front of the box with some additional information on the back side. But we have PCIe Gen 5, ATX 3.0, Smart Zero fan mode, Japanese capacitors, and a 5-year warranty. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and see what's inside. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature with 5-year warranty information, as well as our user guide and manual, giving us a breakout right here of each individual connector type and the quantities included. Very helpful depending on the wattage of the PSU you're going to get. But take a look at that right there to easily see all the cable ends. Next, we have a bag that's included for some of the modular cables that are in this bundle. We also have our power supply cable here. Hardware kit with 4 screws for installation, as well as 4 zip ties for cable management. Here's a look at that bundle. You'll notice right here, probably the cable you're most excited for, our 450 watt single power GPU cable, but a lot of other cables as well here too. CPU, PCIe, some legacy cables, all of that good stuff. And then last but not least, we have the power supply itself. Let's look at that in more detail. Front and center, you'll notice the Thermaltake logo and branding on our fan venting there. I can see the fan peeking through. We got 2 screws here. One's covered with the warranty voided sticker if you want to ever pop off the top, which I don't recommend. Next, we have the side profile here with the 80 plus bronze sticker. Same can be said on the other side. We'll look at the very back side with additional product specs here, if you want to take a look at the chart and all the data provided. Then on this side, we have our Smart Zero fan mode. We can easily toggle that on or off. Main power on and off switch. Then we have our power cord connector here with a sticker again for that Smart Zero fan mode. So they want to make sure you really understand how that operates. But if you turn that on, basically the fan does not spin up under low loads. So giving you that quiet operation. And then last but not least, we'll look at this side here. Semi-modular cabling. So we got our CPU and main motherboard power connected straight in, but everything else we can pick and choose as we see fit right there. So take a look at all those connection options. And again, our 12 volt high power, that's going to be our 450 watt capacity for our GPUs. Now let's go ahead, let's try this out. Everything's plugged in, powered on. We're using our Dr. Power 2 meter here. Blue is good. We have our motherboard power cable connected, 5 to 5, 12 to 12, 3 to 3, 11.3 to 12, 5.1 to 5, and a score of 161 for our PG value. That's great. Everything is well within range. Moving right along, let's see what our next readout's going to be for our PCI. 11.9 to 12, well within range. CPU 12 to 12, well within range. If you want to add any storage or accessories for power, 5 to 5, 12 to 12, 3.3 to 3.3. So everything is doing good, working great right out of the box. Now let's really stress this out. Really quickly, not sure if you can tell right now, but the fan is currently spinning in there because we don't have our fan zero mode on. But watch what happens as soon as I toggle that on, the fan has stopped spinning. Maybe you can tell on the side. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's not on right now. Then we could go ahead, we could turn that back on once we have power restored here. And you'll see it'll boot the fan back up. But there it is, it's spinning. But again, if we don't want that on, we don't want the fan spinning, we can go ahead and we can toggle that off. Again, under light loads. It will kick on eventually, but look at that, pretty sweet. So really nice to have that option if you're always bothered by your power supply fan running. Now look no further, it's the flip of a button and a switch, and you can enable it or disable it. All right, we're at our test bench with the power supply installed. I just used the essential cables that we needed, CPU, motherboard, and GPU right here. We just had to add our GPU modular cable. Again, that supports up to 450 watts with our single cable connector there. Everything's working as it should at idle. The fan has been spinning right now because we have that Smart Zero fan mode turned off. But again, we can turn it on and the fan will shut down right away, and it's not going to spin until it gets warmer internally. So what's nice is at idles, with that mode on, you won't have any fan noise or any noise from the power supply. I'm not hearing anything from the unit, which is great. Now, if you want to leave the fan running at idle, the max decibel readout that we got was 43.4 decibels with the fan spinning on. Now, let's talk about some of the parts here and what we can expect. So we got the 13900K CPU that's coming in right at around 7 watts at idle. And we have a 3080FE that's coming in right at around 11 watts at idle. Now let's go ahead, let's really stress out this power supply. All right, we just eclipsed the 5-minute mark with our stress testing on the power supply. And if you look at the charts, everything in blue is very steady, exactly what we want to see. No issues so far. I wanted to look at some data really quick though. Our CPU coming in at 389 watts at 100% utilization, and our GPU's coming in at 319 watts at 99% utilization. You will definitely hear the fan. It took maybe a minute or two to spin up when we started to stress the system, and if we turn it off, it won't matter. The fan's still going to be on. We have definitely reached that internal fan limit to kick on. And in regards to max decibels, we peaked at 63 decibels. Now, if I listen closely to this, it's definitely making some noise. My ears still gravitate towards all the fans on our AIO right here, but they're both very, very similar in loudness. So, depending on where this is in your case, if it's pointed down, there's a shroud over it, definitely might help muting that noise from your power supply. I wouldn't say it's unbearable, obnoxious, or more than expected, especially when you already have at 100%, everything else is going crazy too, trying to keep everything nice and cool. So it will be noticeable with that fan kicked on at 100% load, but it's not going to be any louder than any other part and component in your build, most likely. It could be the loudest piece, technically, if you got a nice air cooler here and some silent fans, that sort of thing. But anyways, so far so good there as expected. Nothing out of the range of normal. All right, we've hit the 10-minute mark on our stress test here. Thought we'd look at some of the results at the cable ends, specifically our GPU cable here. About 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and again, that's pushing 319 watts through. Harder to get a good angle at the motherboard cable here, but around 100 degrees Fahrenheit at the board. CPU power cable, somewhere between that 100 and 120 degree range. Maybe peaking closer to 130. I see the 130 there. Nice and toasty. And now on the power supply itself, here's the side with the fan. Got a couple of hot spots here, it looks like over here. Not too bad at all. Mid to upper 80s. This will probably be the hottest spot on the power supply, in the 120s there. There's the power coming in the hundreds. But yeah, there's that hot area, peaking at like 126 degrees Fahrenheit. Other side, a little bit warmer than the top. Not as much venting, and obviously the fan isn't spinning there. Here's the other side with all of our cabling. Let's take a look at that coming out in the 90s. Let's look at our GPU cable. Also in the 90s. Not bad. Here's a look at the other side. I turned the power supply up. Get a couple readings here. Now I flipped it over. This side was sitting on the table in its defense, so maybe it built up a little bit more heat, but it's definitely a little bit warmer here. 115. Got some more activity there. Not bad. Now we're over 15 minutes in, completely maxed out, no issues at all whatsoever. All right, here's a look at the power outlet to get a feel for what we're working with at idle, right at the wall plug. About 80 watts, give or take a little bit. You'll see our kilowatt hours there, followed by our voltage, 123.7, then our amps, 0.607, our low watts, peak watts, and here we go. We're back to the beginning at around that 70, 80 watt range at idle. With the system stressed out here, we're showing over 900 watts, about 910 to 915. 0.632 kilowatt hours, 119.8 volts, 7.628 amps. Our low, our high, we peaked at 920.9. And then we're back to what we're currently getting, 910 watts. And now we're over the 30-minute mark, no issues at all whatsoever. And what's great is this is backed by a 5-year warranty. So heaven forbid something does happen, they have you covered. Now, after using this power supply, let me share with you my final thoughts. This is a very simple and straightforward power supply. It works great. I didn't notice any coil whine or anything along those lines. I still prefer fully modular power supplies, but this is great. So basically, they give you the cables you know you're going to use anyways, motherboard and CPU, and then you can still choose from the other modular cables, GPU, right, that sort of thing. So anyways, I'm pleased with that design overall. If I'm not doing fully modular, at least this semi-modular design is what I would want. But overall, so far, so good. It has the latest and greatest for all of the next-gen GPUs, and everything's working as advertised.